Welcome to Bible Over Brews News. Deep thought fermented over times of headlines. I'm Aaron Juice Laverca. I've got Gumby.
Hey, what's up?
George.
Yo.
And I've got Keith.
Let me put on my mask.
We'll cover all kinds of cool COVID news.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Before we do that, we are going to have some hazelnut tiramisu Underverse. This looks delicious. Somewhere in the blackness of space there lies another verse, the Underverse. Upon crossing the threshold, one returns change. Some call it enlightenment, while others call it nirvana. Our bourbon barrel-aged imperial milk stout has returned from this long journey. During its time in bourbon barrels, it slumbered genuine Madagascar vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and 6-shooter coffee beans. We then infused this batch with hazelnuts, resulting in a rich, bold beverage reminiscent of the delectable Italian dessert tiramisu.
This is a dessert beer for sure. I mean, that has some.
Oh, look at that color!
Punches you in the face with flavor. It is. It's like pow.
Dude.
Did the room just fill with the smell as soon as you opened the can?
Oh, this
that was amazing.
Look at that. The color is so rich.
I actually prefer it in a glass better than the can. It disperses, I think, a little better.
Smell that. The nose is like overpowering. It's really good.
I have to do something with this though.
I mean, I can smell the 6-shooter coffee. It's really good.
Oh, so good.
I mean, that's. Whew. And it definitely has the after aromas of bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because I love me some good bourbon. And it smells like bourbon-infused coffee. Mm. Oh, wow.
Really good.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Beer, though, I don't think that I'd like it.
I agree.
They stopped at the right stopping point.
I agree. Because it's sweet, but it's not overbearing.
Mm-hmm. If it tastes like a root beer float. I mean, that is a dessert beer if I've ever had one. It's probably the dessertiest beer I've ever had.
Oh,
and it's 12% or something. It's not messing around. 12.5.
Wow.
It's
not. I'm crying tears of joy.
Yeah, it's not playing. It don't. Yeah, the other strong beers I have that are usually over 10. They usually have a little more bite. Like they almost have feel like a shot going down. They have a little burn.
Yeah.
A little tickle. This one don't have that. This is just like
Masthead. Good
drink
job.
Me, I'm fun.
Good job. By the way, these were the last ones that Masthead had. So this is it right here. Last batch.
What do you think, Keith?
I'm crying tears of joy. This beer is beautiful. I apologize for my wife pops up on the camera because I messaged her right now and said you have to pop down here and taste this beer. It's so good.
I almost gave you another one for her. Yeah.
She doesn't drink. I
wasn't sure if she drunk or not.
There's just enough in this can that like it'd be like she doesn't drink usually a whole can. So this is perfect.
I mean, it's rich too, and it's a little bit thick, but it's so smooth. I mean, that's good.
No, it's classy.
It is good.
It's classy.
You know, so speaking of things that are good, all those thoughts and prayers on good health and financial, how's that doing for you guys right now? How's everyone, your prayers keeping life good? Right? God really protected us from this pandemic, huh? Way to be, guys.
Life could always suck more.
What's that?
Life could always suck more.
That's true.
It could suck more.
Spoken quite true.
It could suck more. Yeah. But it doesn't have to suck at all. But you're all powerful. God didn't do much to stop this. He's like, hey, guys, you're on your own. Go for it. Hey, no one has it. He has the powerful for no one to die from this. And yet it's not happening.
Well, here's the thing. And again, I'm going to say this over
Don't
and
people
over
pray for good health all the time
again.
and good like financial stability? That's
I'm going to say this over and over
it's not happening.
and
They're
over
getting
again.
ravaged across the world. I mean, think of all that time wasted on prayers. Time wasted on prayers.
Are they wasted though?
Every second. If you were, and listen, right now, if you were praying for financial stability and good health,
okay,
for you and the planet,
all right,
every second of that was wasted.
So what happened to Jesus? Did he just simply say, you know what, guys, I'm going to go to heaven and alight myself upon this cloud? Or did he suffer the consequences of being human and get tortured and get beaten and get condemned? And wait, hold on. Wasn't there 12 apostles? And weren't all of them beaten multiple times and murdered? I mean, so we can say that being a Christian is supposed to make everything all good, but we know better. And in fact, almost every single one of the saints, or at least a good, 60% of them, were martyred, right? So,
okay. So how does that help the prayers that were wasted argument?
Because this is just the start of your life, okay? When you die is actually when you come to the fruition of your life. All right. When you cross over, that's a bag of goods. I mean, who sold that to you, Juice? I mean, this is the pregame. This is the tryouts.
Oh Lordy.
This is the tryouts.
Oh, Lord.
You actually haven't started your life yet. This is where where you find out if you get to actually have a life. This is the tryouts. The ball game hasn't started yet.
So what's the next stage? Enlighten me.
The next stage is eternity.
And so wait, it's either an eternity in heaven or an eternity in hell?
Something like that.
I mean, is it something like that, or is that?
I mean, there is a purgatory in between, but
why are you spending an eternity in hell if God's all forgiving and everything like that? I mean, it sounds like you. I mean, that's pretty stiff.
It's actually your choice. It's actually your
choice.
So
I can leave hell whenever I want.
No, it's your choice of which way you go.
You get to pick?
Yeah.
What's purgatory then?
Purgatory is.
You watch Supernatural?
I watched about 10 minutes of it today.
Supernatural is a great show. So purgatory is the place you go to cleanse you of any leftover sin you have before you pass on. And by the way, that's not a Christian concept. We inherited that from Jewish thought because it's actually came from the Jewish writings. And so
as Gumby would say, the Jujus.
It was. It was.
Is that my cousin? Okay.
Is that well, we have to cut that from.
I am not anti.
He really isn't. He really isn't.
Show's over before we get.
Yeah, George, leave.
COVID-19. We have a COVID-19.
Take George's beer away.
So no, I mean, here's the funny thing. So
the look on your face is now going. You're like, wait, whoa, is this recorded? You're like,
my career's over before it began.
Yeah, right.
Ostracized.
All right.
So there was. So, by the way, for any of anybody out there who's listening to this, the earlier reference wasn't actually to Jews. It was the fact that Gumpy has relatives named Juju, and George mistook it and thought he was talking about Jews. So
but that was my natural default for saying it. Juju, yeah.
Yeah. So it was actually a reference
to anti-Semitic.
No. I also have a cousin named Chewie.
Right.
You know,
and he's not even a Star Wars fan. So that's what it was a reference to. It was an inside joke from earlier.
So I think there are two good legitimate questions in there, though.
Yes.
Thank you, Gumby.
One
always has my back. Sorry for the Jew joke. that may have been anti-Semitic. I don't know.
That question has always been asked by believers and non-believers alike.
It has.
And it's a fair question.
You know, which one?
Where's God when there's immense suffering anytime throughout history?
Right.
That's a fair question. The second fair question is, and we can go back to that one, but because I'm a Protestant, so I don't believe in purgatory. I've never understood that. That concept is kind of foreign to me too. So
can I interject?
Yeah. No.
Ooh, you just fired Juice up with the purgatory comment.
N.T. Wright is Protestant, and N.T. Wright said there is purgatory.
Not fair, dude.
He believes in purgatory now.
And he's right, like the best name ever for a theologian.
Hey.
I mean, that's like Gary Player being a golf player, right?
That's right. I mean, it's been proven that if you can speak in a good, consistent accent, you are more believable.
That's why when Juice reads the paraphrasing, it's always in an English accent.
Hey, if I can keep it up and sound a little bit more Sean Connery-ish, it's going to be more believable.
So Keith, what's your views on purgatory?
Oh, I mean, I'm Catholic. I believe it. I don't know. I think like the idea that actually I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, and I was talking about how there's this thing called the perfect act of contrition in Catholicism, and it's the idea like since we can't go to like mass right now and we can't really go to confession under most circumstances unless they do like drive-through confession, that instead for forgiveness of sins you could offer this perfect act of contrition. And I was telling her how I've always like struggled with that because it literally talks about like you're supposed to have like total detachment to sin, and I'm like, I don't think I can say that. Even if I say I'm sorry, I don't feel like I could look somebody straight in the face, let alone God, and say, oh, I have no detachment to sin. So I've never really understood logically how to do a perfect act of contrition. So purgatory really relates to me because I'm like, of course I'm not going to be like, if I'm supposed to be like 100% pure when I get to heaven, like, of course I'm not going to be. Somebody's got to do something to me, whether it takes 3 seconds or takes 300 years in a fiery furnace. Like,
Okay.
you know.
So I'm hoping for last rites.
Yeah.
So George is at the extreme end of that. I'm more in the middle. Unpack that a bit because maybe we don't fully understand the concept of what purgatory is supposed to be.
Go ahead, Keith.
Oh, I'll try. I mean, purgatory is simply, you're going to spend eternity with God in heaven at that point.
Okay.
You're one of the elect, or however you put it, but you're undergoing purification because no unpure thing can enter heaven. And we still have, this propensity towards sin. Even when we ask for forgiveness, even when we're baptized, even when we, whatever, we still, have some sin on us.
So what happens in purgatory to help like cleanse you of these or detach you from your sins?
I don't think we can really. I mean, I think probably some folks have speculated on that. It's supposed.
That's all you could do, right? Because it sounds like a bunch of baloney. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, like you said, I could think of like a million sins that I've probably done, and like I don't regret them. 1,000%.
So, can I?
So how does that get washed from you? Like how? And I mean, I can't be alone in that.
If I can make a reference to Gabriella Amert, he
Oh
was.
yeah, go ahead.
he was the chief exorcist for the Vatican, right? So, and he actually was given a vision of hell and purgatory, and he said that what really, really mind-boggled him was the fact that the people in hell still did not believe in God. He said that really messed with his head because he could see people's thoughts that were in purgatory and were in hell, and he said what really messed with him was that people in hell still did not believe in God.
Wait, who saw these people in hell?
Gabriel Amert. He was the chief exorcist for the Vatican, and he said he couldn't conceive of that, the fact that they're in hell and they still didn't believe. But he said that's what he saw. And then the people that were in purgatory were bowed in obeisance, and they were slowly being purified of any past sins they had. And it's kind of like a refining fire, where whatever is left afterwards, that's the true you, and that's what gets to go to heaven. It burns away the impurities, kind of like metal.
So, okay, let me ask again, because I'm a drummer.
Okay.
Unpack that a little bit in layman's terms. What is purgatory? Is it a transition?
It's like
place?
a holding cell. So it's like a holding cell.
Okay.
And then when you're there,
Doesn't sound very fun.
It's not supposed to be fun.
It's like quarantine. I can relate to that.
Exactly.
Are we in purgatory now?
This is you're kind of experiencing a little bit of purgatory right now.
Is there a Nintendo Switch in purgatory? Because if that's the case,
There's not.
No?
We don't know that for sure.
How do you know? Yeah, thank you, Keith. How do you know there's no Nintendo Switch in purgatory?
Wait, you know what? It's like there's a Wii U. It's not a Nintendo Switch. It's a Wii U. It just has no game.
I like the Wii U. I'm the only problem was I was the only one that got one. And I'm salty because they're making me buy all the games for Switch now full price again, and I'm salty.
Let's talk about this sometime, George, because I was a Wii U fan too, but we'll save that for another time.
That's another day, yeah.
See, Father Gabriel Amert, He definitely said the only thing that was down there was an Atari.
I would play Atari.
And he said on the Atari, the only thing that was there was Pong.
Like the ET game that didn't work. It's it's a Nintendo, but you have to like keep blowing into the cartridges to get it to work still. You're like, push it. Like that's it. If you can pass, that's the test to get into heaven. That's how you detach all your sins. If you can get the Nintendo to work and like
That's pretty bad.
That was almost a spit take. Wow. That was good.
All right, so I'll
Sorry.
get a little bit more from you. What is from the Catholic's perspective? What is the point of purgatory?
Keith, your turn.
I don't know why this is appealing. Like, what's the term? I mean, since the Juice, you're more into like working out and stuff. Like the sweat workout. Like don't you like go in the gym and like lift weights and in the sauna and like you sweat it all out? Like, I don't know.
That's actually good allegorically. That's true. Yeah.
It sounds like a really intense workout to like get yourself buff enough for heaven.
That's why I relate it to metallurgy, right? Because if you so I loved studying sword making when I was younger, right? Because I loved samurai swords and everything else. Well, in metallurgy, you have to get all the impurities out, because if there's any impurity left in the metal, once it clanks, it shatters, right? So the whole idea behind that is that it's a purification process, and every impurity must leave, because if you have any impurities, once you enter heaven and stand before God, then you would cease to exist, right? So you have to get every impurity out of you, just like you would if you were refining a sword.
So what if you don't get every impurity out of you? What do you go down south? If you're in purgatory, is there any chance you're going south from there?
None. I mean,
so if you're in purgatory, you're in the clear.
You're going.
It's
to
just
heaven.
A matter of time.
Yeah. Yes. It's you are being refined until you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
And by the way, prayers can expedite that, because that can help cleanse you faster. So if you pray for those who have passed away, then that can actually expedite their process and expedite the process of getting all those impurities out of your soul.
Can you be Catholic and not believe in purgatory?
Well, I mean, anything's possible. I mean,
is it? In other words, is it just like, from my upbringing, I don't necessarily believe in the rapture, or premillennialism, or post.
Did you believe in the rapture?
XYI.
Really. No, not really. I mean, we believe in the second coming of Christ, but we don't believe in a premillennial rapture.
Because there's so many different interpretations of it. Yeah. So I guess what I'm asking from the Catholic point of view, if you don't believe in that, where does that leave you?
I mean, even if you don't, I'll put it to you this way. If you don't believe in death, you're still going to die. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
So if you don't believe in purgatory, as long as you are saved by God, you're still going to go to purgatory.
Okay, so it's just a theological issue at that point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It doesn't come up a lot at Mass or anything like that. Or there's
all right.
Now, is it if you go to hell, are you stuck in hell, or can you carve your way up to purgatory, hang out, and then eventually get to the high ground?
How accurate is the good place?
There are stories of people who went to hell and then were immediately pulled out of hell.
Yeah, it's called Spawn. It's a good comic book.
Supernatural.
But that's based. Yeah. But believe it or not, Spawn's actually based on true stories, because there's a series of different people who went to hell. One was recent. I forget her name. I'll pull it up. There's a lady who actually went to hell, and she said her soul was immediately pulled back by Michael the Archangel, and pulled her right back out, because she said it's not your time, or he said it's not your time. The prayers have saved you, and she had been dead for a little bit, and then she was resuscitated and came back to life, and that's when she came back with the story of how she was pulled back out of hell.
So when she does die, though, she has hell to look forward to.
No, because
it's not her time to go to hell, or it's not her time to die.
It wasn't her time to die.
So she's going to hell.
No.
That's what it sounds like. If she died and she went to hell.
No, she came to the faith after that. And so.
So what was her sin? Just not believing? I thought you said that was okay.
She was not a believer previous to that.
So they were sending her to hell for that.
No, because now she came to the faith.
But before she came to the faith, she was going to hell for that.
Mhm.
I thought you said that was okay. We had like so many arguments about
what was okay. Which part?
Not believing in God is like the biggest sin.
So here's the difference.
And you were telling me like you were like fluffing it off. You're like
No. So here's the difference. If you are honestly searching for God, we believe that you can find your path to salvation, and that even goes for Hindus and Buddhists. We believe that if people are honestly searching for salvation, they can still find their way to salvation. It's actually right in our catechism. I think it's 842. I think in the catechism, right?
I don't know the exact number.
I believe it's around 842 where it talks about the Hindu and the Buddhist. But if you are honestly seeking salvation and you never had time to understand who Jesus Christ was or real salvation was, we believe you can still find your path to salvation.
All right, what's if I have no problem like seeking out God, but I do not believe it's Jesus or any of that?
Well, that's not up to us. That's up to God.
But I'm just saying in general, for what you know.
I'm not your judge.
But I'm just saying right now, just to let you know, like with what you were just talking about,
Right.
Where does that belief get me?
I don't know.
Well, you know that what that woman did, and she went to hell.
Yeah.
So where's my belief send me?
Again,
brother.
Come on. Thank you. God. I'm like falling, and it's like I had Gumby. I'm like,
Parachutes in
I'm like, Gumby always had my back. Like,
that's kind of like that.
She was just like a little bit further. He's like, I was gonna let him fall a little further.
That's kind of like
we
that's
may go
kind
to hell together, man.
Then I'm kicking. I pull you down.
That's kind of like a story I heard this week. There was 4 passengers on a plane. There was a kid, Donald Trump, a priest, and a rabbi. Right, and so like,
oh boy,
all of a sudden the plane starts going down, and the rabbi says, "Well, I'm the leader of an entire synagogue, so I have to get back down." And so he grabs the first parachute and he jumps off. All right. And so then the priest, the priest was the last one. Hold on. So then the second was the teacher. The teacher says, "Well, I have an entire school I have to take care of." And so the priest says, "You take it, jump out and go."
I see where this is going.
And so, she grabbed it and she jumped out. And Donald Trump says, "I'm leading the entire country. I have to go," and grabs one and jumps. And the priest goes and he goes to hand the little girl the parachute. And she says, "No, we're okay. There's still 2." And he says, "Wait, but I thought that Trump already took one." And she said, "No, the smartest man in the world took my backpack."
Oh, gotcha. Hey ho! Thank you.
It really is 12%.
Yeah, because I totally screwed that joke up. So, I only heard it one time. I didn't rehearse it.
I got to give you an idea of the state of political propaganda in the nation and the world, the first time I heard that joke, whoever told it replaced the priest with Donald Trump.
Nice.
So what about other faiths under the Christian branch that doesn't believe in purgatory? Is that okay?
I mean, I'm not a big enough student of other faiths to know if they have a purgatory.
Just other Christians.
Well, there are Anglicans that do believe in purgatory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So like N.T. Wright or something.
Like N.T. Wright does, yeah, and he was an Anglican bishop. But I mean, there are some people here and there, but it's so hit or miss. Mm-hmm. It's not in other theologies. Like Anglicans don't teach purgatory, but some Anglicans do believe in purgatory.
So from an evangelical perspective, is there an equivalent to that?
No, it's heaven or hell. Black or white. Luckily, us Catholics have a little bit of gray in between.
What's funny though is I can't think of a good way to not do this and be a nice person or whatever. But even in Catholic circles, say you're at a funeral and somebody's delivering a eulogy, there's just a strong impulse even there, even when we like understand purgatory, we think 99.99% of people saved are there, to say like, oh, they're in heaven. So it's like an awkward thing.
Yeah, when in reality,
even though it's not bad to be in if you get in purgatory, that's a pretty good place.
Yeah, it means you're on the right path, right?
You guys didn't make it sound too good, though.
Well, again, you're on the right path. It's kind of like a workout, right? So when you first start a workout, you're sore every single day, often for like 30 straight days. You're sore, right? But then after you reach that 30-day mark, all of a sudden, you're in the groove, and you're going. You feel better. Purgatory is those first 30 days.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel
That's a
like...
tough one.
Again, we inherited from the Jews.
You know what? I just feel like for comforting people when someone dies, it's not a fun way to, I don't know, talk about the relative or loved one that passed away, is that they're hanging out in purgatory. You want them to think, they're in a better place. I don't think purgatory sounds very rewarding.
Well, again, that's why we don't judge. We're not judges. We don't know where they went, right? So we hope the best.
99.9 went to purgatory. I thought that's what Keith just said.
We hope that they go to heaven, right? Because that's what saints do, and we hope they're a saint, right?
What about if they clearly went to hell? Do you guys think that's funny?
We don't think that there is a clear-cut hell. Okay, we don't think
Keith said fiery furnace.
No, but what I'm saying is it's not clear.
Keith said fiery furnace.
Hold on. We are not the judge. We are not the judge. Okay, so don't have a clear cut. That guy's in hell because we're not their judge.
Well, then you can't laugh and giggle about people being in purgatory, even though you believe 99.9% of people probably.
But we don't know if they went straight to heaven or if they went to purgatory. We don't know.
You're like, they probably won the lottery.
We don't even know if Hitler went to hell. I'm pretty sure.
One of these is presuming the best, where the other is presuming the worst.
I mean, what if he was seeking salvation that entire time?
I'm taking you there.
But what I'm saying is, though, is that we're not judges. So we don't know. Maybe after he went to Argentina, he found a priest and he found salvation. Oops. We don't know,
So, okay, all right. You say you inherited from Jewish culture?
Yeah.
Or Judaism?
It comes from the Jewish culture. So even, actually, believe it or not, King David makes a reference to purgatory in the Old Testament.
Okay, so Judaism as it exists today, do they believe in purgatory?
Yes. Yeah, if you go to the Jewish Virtual Encyclopedia, it's in there.
As the belief that they follow?
Yeah.
I don't know, Gumby.
Yeah, it's in there. So.
Hey, what's great is that we're not talking about COVID-19.
Right?
You just ended that.
I'm kind of surprised at how quiet we are being about it. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I've been welcoming something other than virus talk. It was good. Thank you, George.
No problem. We can talk about purgatory and Nintendo's.
George had the.
Hey, before we get off purgatory, Supernatural. So
are you gonna do spoilers? Are you gonna do spoilers?
I won't do a spoiler, I promise. But the Catholics' perspective on what, even in the middle of the season or the show.
Okay.
Is it something like that?
I mean, they have a decent view of like different religious things, but then they're totally off on like everything else. So, I mean, Supernatural definitely has a cast of writers, and some of them are spot on, and other ones are definitely don't know what they're talking about. So you can definitely see the flow back and forth between the writers. Because
okay, so I'm a new Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching Supernatural.
Yep.
What's his name goes to purgatory?
Dean.
Yeah. Is it completely way off, or is there some things that's okay?
What's purgatory look like when he goes there?
Actually,
he's killing nothing but monsters.
But Dean went to hell.
I want to kill monsters.
Yeah.
Scary.
He did go to hell.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about specifically.
Did he make his way up to purgatory?
The time that he was in purgatory trying to rescue.
Oh yes, yeah.
So wait, did he go to hell, make it to purgatory, then go to heaven? Is what I'm asking.
So it depends on which season you're in. In some seasons, he went to hell. In other seasons, he went to purgatory.
Yeah, not the season.
Because I'm going to write a movie.
Yeah.
I'm writing a movie. It's going to be a buddy movie. It's going to be that scene.
In purgatory?
Where Gumby gives me the hand, and I grab, and I accidentally drag you to hell with me. Then we have to, like, fight monsters up the purgatory.
All right.
Yeah.
Pass the Nintendo game test.
Oh.
And then we finally then like Juice is like, and then actually then like Keith and Juice and like conservative Mike are already up there with Calvin. Dude, no, I got
Hey
like,
guys,
what took you so long? We're on like Bible over Brews episode 9,000.
Did you have a broken ladder?
Yeah,
that's actually not too far off from how they portrayed it.
Yeah, but I mean, so
singed and
he was
burnt
going to save his brother, right?
did you guys watch Constantine the movie?
with Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Keanu.
I don't think.
So did you see the scene when he was in hell?
No.
You guys,
I heard it's an underrated movie. I heard like it's kind of making a second surge.
It's a really good movie.
People are giving it like more credit now than when it first came out.
Keanu Reeves is trying to start a second movie, so he loved it that much. He's actually
That's good.
He's trying to do part 2.
And good for Keanu for like kind of falling off and then coming right back on.
Yeah.
Like
he's a bad boy. He really is a bad boy. He's awesome. I love Keanu. But yeah, so he's trying to reignite the passion for the first Constantine, which there's actually a whole class of people, big fans of the first movie. Nerds. Yeah. Good nerds.
I like stuff like
good
that.
nerds, right? But
I can't say that. I'm all about the Final Fantasy VII remake that just
so,
came out.
but he's trying to reignite the passion for that.
We have so much to talk about, George. Sorry.
I know. Did we just become best friends?
Yes, pretty much.
All right. So before I get too far off, the rabbinic view of purgatory. The view of purgatory is still more clearly expressed in rabbinical passages, as in the teaching of the Shemites. In the last judgment day there shall be 3 classes of souls. The righteous shall at once be written down for the life everlasting, the wicked for Gehenna. But those whose virtues and sins counterbalance one another shall go down to Gehenna and float up and down until they rise purified. For them it is said, I will bring the third part into the fire and refine them as silver is refined and try them as gold is tried. So the rabbinic view is that you slowly get dipped back and forth in between, which we call purgatory, right? Until you are refined as fine silver. That's the rabbinic view, not the Catholic view.
So it has a redemptive quality to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, the jury's out, but I can't say yes or no.
So.
But it's a good beer.
Underverse. Masthead, great job.
You could say purgatory is like a brewing process. I mean, whatever this is made of probably tastes like garbage when you first start off.
I almost spit. That's good. That's good. That was
Fine,
good.
barrel-aged people, humans, souls.
All right, so believe it or not, this pandemic was prophesied by the great prophet George W. Bush.
You know what, though? I actually have been thinking about it because everyone's giving Joe Biden a hard time for stumbling over words and forgetting stuff. I'm like, I mean, am I that old? Are people already forgetting about how bad of a public speaker Bush was? I mean, he was the worst.
He was like so bad. He was hilarious.
He was hilarious.
He was great.
He is funny, though. He is a funny president, but yeah, he was the worst public speaker of all time.
Where's the bumbling cowboy?
Yeah.
Teach a child to read.
So
I think we agree to pass this over. Sorry, go ahead. I'm reading Bushisms.
So here's an article that I pulled. This is from I think it was ABC. So in the summer of 2005, President George W. Bush was on vacation at his ranch in Crawford, Texas, when he began flipping through an advanced reading copy of a new book about the 1918 flu pandemic. He couldn't put it down. When he returned to Washington, he called his top Homeland Security advisor into the Oval Office and gave her the gallery of historian John M. Barry's The Great Influenza, which told the chilling tale of the mysterious plague that would kill more people than the outbreak of any other disease in human history. "You've got to read this," Fran Townsend remembered the president telling her. He said, "Look, this happens every 100 years. We need a national strategy." Thus was born the nation's most comprehensive pandemic plan, a playbook that included a diagram for global early warning systems, funding to develop new rapid vaccine technology, and a robust national stockpile of critical supplies, such as face masks and ventilators, Townsend said. The effort was intense over the ensuing 3 years, including exercises where cabinet officials gamed out their responses, but it was not sustained. Large swaths of the ambitious plan were either not fully realized or entirely shelved as other priorities and crises took hold. But elements of that effort have formed the foundation for the national response to the coronavirus pandemic underway right now. Quote, "Despite politics, despite changes, when a crisis hits, you pull what you've got off the shelf and work from there," end quote, Townsend said. When Bush first told his aides he wanted to focus on the potential of a global pandemic, many of them harbored doubts. Quote, "My reaction was, I'm buried. I'm dealing with counterterrorism, hurricane season, wildfire." I'm like, "What?" Townsend said. He said to me, "It may not happen on our watch, but the nation needs a plan," unquote. Over the ensuing months, cabinet officials got behind the idea. Most of them had governed through the September 11th terror attacks, so events considered unlikely but highly impactful had a certain resonance. Quote, "There was a realization that it's no longer fantastical to raise scenarios about planes falling from the sky or anthrax arriving in the mail," unquote, said Tom Bossert, who worked in the Bush White House and went on to serve as a Homeland Security advisor in the Trump administration. It was a novel idea. It was the world we were living. According to Bossert, who is now an ABC News contributor, Bush did not just insist on preparation for a pandemic. He was obsessed with it. Quote, "He was completely taken by the reality that it was going to happen," unquote, Bossert said. Now, here's the fun part, right? In a November 2005 speech at the National Institute of Health, Bush laid out proposals in granular detail, describing with stunning prescience how a pandemic in the United States would unfold. Among those in the audience was Dr. Anthony Fauci, the leader of the current crisis response, who was then and still is now the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Quote, "A pandemic is a lot like a forest fire," Bush said at the time. "If caught early, it might be extinguished with limited damage. If allowed to smolder undetected, it can grow to an inferno that can spread quickly beyond our ability to control it," end quote. The president recognized that an outbreak was a different kind of disaster than the ones the federal government had been designed to address. Quote, "To respond to a pandemic, we need medical personnel and adequate supplies of equipment," Bush said. "In a pandemic, everything from syringes to hospital beds, respirators, masks, and protective equipment would be in short supply," end quote. Bush told the gathered scientists that they would need to develop a vaccine in a record time. Quote, "If a pandemic strikes, our country must have a surge capacity in place that will allow us to bring a new vaccine online quickly and manufacture enough to immunize every American against the pandemic strain," unquote, he said. So you can see from this story that this was put into place and predicted back in 2005.
Well, I mean, not that so much it was predicted, but I mean, I think it's a way to be proactive rather than reactive.
He said it was going to happen.
What, COVID-19?
No, Bush literally said it happens every 100 years. It's going to happen in the next couple of years. That's what he said. He said it may not even happen on our watch, but it's going to happen soon.
I like it.
He predicted it.
I like it, and I mean, again, it's a way to be proactive. I'm not arguing with you. Why are you acting like we're arguing right now?
Yeah. I guess it's just like a gut reaction. It's like what I'm used to.
Gotcha, okay, right.
Not sure why, George.
Yeah. You're acting like I attack you on this TV show, this podcast all the time. But yeah, no, again, we were kind of joking about him not being the best public speaker. And I think a lot of people, it was a stereotype that he was dumb, but I think, that really kind of shows him being, proactive about a situation that definitely happens. It makes him look real smart. It makes him look like a good president.
So... Yeah. So I read a lot of, there was a period where I read a lot of biographies and autobiographies from George W. Bush and H.W. and those folks. And I mean, obviously when he writes a book, it's going to be at least somewhat hagiographical, it's going to glorify what he did. But I don't doubt he was well read. Like, it seems like he read a lot. Now, one thing, an interesting companion to this article is I was reading a book recently from Michael Lewis, who was the Moneyball guy. And this book is called The Fifth Risk, and it's about the things we can't predict that we employ, career people in the government, the so-called deep state, the bureaucrats, to actually think about these risks and plan for them. Like, what if somebody steals a bunch of nuclear waste? What if a giant hurricane hits? What if a pandemic hits? And a big part of the book was describing how the current administration systematically got all of these people out of government. So literally probably a lot of what I don't doubt for a moment that what Bush put in place was a lot better than what we actually have now, because we had such a serious brain drain at these big, administrative bodies that are supposed to think about plan for pandemics and keep the stockpile stocked and actually have a coherent plan when something bad happens.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's almost like, it's almost like a chess game, right? And it's almost like forgetting the strategy you had to win the game.
Yeah. What you say about Bush in terms of the pandemic now, I think about, do you guys know what PNAC is? Project for a New American Century.
I was going to ask if it was a cousin of Pinochle, but...
So it was a...
Jokes.
It was a paper written by a lot of people around Bush at that time, like Richard Pearl, Wolfowitz, a lot of those guys in that administration.
Okay.
They written a paper called The Project for a New American Century, How is America Supposed to Survive the Next 100 Years or So, specifically geopolitically.
Okay.
And what they described is needing to happen in order for America to sustain itself.
Did they say turning politics into a TV sitcom reality where the best ideas aren't really the best? It's more so a 10-second burn or soundbite for the internet.
Not in those words.
No.
But what they did say in this paper was that they needed a cataclysmic event akin to the new Pearl Harbor. And anyone can Google search this.
Okay.
Google search PNAC and who wrote it and what it was about.
Is it easier to find than Juice's TikTok allegations earlier?
It was about that America needed to experience, America as a whole collectively, a Pearl Harbor type of event.
Okay.
An event that just so happened not too long after that was 9/11. That offered everything that PNAC article suggested or predicted, or we could say, even for those who don't even believe in any type of conspiracy that people plan evil things, planning really good, right? Just so happens we got that type of event in 9/11. PNAC was like, what happens if planes or terrorists flew planes into buildings? It was implanted, it was suggested, it was planned, like, let's talk about if this actually did happen. It's not going to happen, but if it did happen, what would America do? How would America respond? And how would our foreign policy look after that?
Okay.
What would we do? So,
Did he just lay it out, like how everything happened then? This is interesting.
In a sense, yeah. Yeah, in a very real sense.
It was kind of nice. Like, I will say at that time, I was a lot younger, Avi. But we were much more united. Like, it just seems like on the internet right now, we're all so divided and we're all so left and right. Like, none of us want to be middle. But, like, at that time, we're all like, It didn't matter if you were war, anti-war. You were like, we're gonna find these people.
Exactly.
We're gonna get.
It did bring this all together because Bush that you brought up, during this time, he laid it out pretty much for the whole world, right? After 9/11 happened, right, in America, he said this, speaking to all the countries globally, you are either with us or you are against us in regards to the fight to terrorism, right? There's no middle ground.
That's awesome.
You're either with us or you're against us. In other words, you either believe what we're putting out because we put the narrative out of what happened, there's no questioning that, or you're against us.
Right.
If you go against the party line and you begin to question and you begin to have thoughts and you begin to step back and look at things a little bit differently than what we say, you could be an enemy, right? So that kind of feels like what's happening now with this whole COVID-19 for me. You can't really question things.
Yeah.
If you do, you're publicly flogged. You're put in another camp as conspiracy theorist, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not really given, there's no middle ground. You're either a flat earther or you believe it, right?
Join us for the rest of the conversation in part 2.